Welcome to Wyoming, a land of secrets, extremes, and awe-inspiring beauty. From ghost towns frozen in time to deserts that sing with the wind, from sacred ancient sites to landscapes shaped by fire and ice. This is a journey unlike any other. Buckle up, because over the next 10 chapters, we're going deep into the hidden heart of America's wild frontier. You're about to see Wyoming as few have ever seen it, and it will leave you breathless. This is Wyoming like you've never seen it. Welcome to the adventure. There are places in America that feel untouched by time. Places so raw, so open, and so impossibly vast that they don't just take your breath away. They silence it. Wyoming is one of those places, a land where the sky feels bigger than anywhere else on Earth, where mountains rise like ancient stone guardians, and where wilderness still whispers the stories of the world before roads, before fences, before hurry. If you've ever wondered what it feels like to travel through a landscape that still holds the soul of the old frontier, you're about to find out. Because today, you and I are stepping into Wyoming, the last true wide-open country of the American West. The first thing you notice about Wyoming isn't what you see, it's what you feel. The space, the freedom, the strange, quiet peace that wraps around you the moment you enter these endless plains. You look out and realize the world here stretches farther than your eyes can follow. This is a place where you don't just see the horizon, you chase it. And it always stays just a little out of reach. Our journey begins in a landscape carved by ancient forces. Yellow cliffs towering like melted candle wax, steaming vents rising from the earth, and rivers glowing with impossible colors. This land was shaped by fire long before humans ever walked it. And today, we feel it in the air, in the ground, in every sulfur-scented breeze that brushes across your skin. Wyoming is not just a state, it is a living memory of the earth itself. You walk through a valley where bison once roamed in herds that thundered like storms. Imagine thousands of them moving as one, kicking dust into the heavens, their shadows rolling across the grass like waves. Today, a few remain massive, calm, ancient creatures who stand as symbols of a land that refused to be tamed. You watch one lift its head, steam rising from its breath in the cold morning air, and for a moment, you feel like you've stepped into another century. The ground trembles beneath you, not violently, but subtly, like the earth is breathing. This is geothermal country, where underground chambers pulse with heat and pressure. Geysers explode in rhythmic bursts, shooting boiling water high into the air. Hot springs shimmer in impossible blues and greens, swirling like the surface of another planet. Pools so clear, so deep, they feel like portals into the Earth's hidden heart. And yet, everything here is fragile. One wrong step, one broken crust, and nature reminds you who's in charge. But Wyoming isn't just fire and steam. It's silence. It's stillness. It's the soft whisper of wind brushing across sagebrush plains. You drive through roads where hours pass without seeing another car, where mountains rise slowly on the horizon until they stand right in front of you like giants. You feel small, but not in a frightening way, in a freeing way. Like the world is bigger than your worries. Like maybe life is simpler than we make it. And then, as the sun begins to drop behind distant peaks, the landscape transforms. The sky turns orange, then pink, then a deep, glowing violet. Shadows stretch across valleys like ink spreading on a page. And suddenly, Wyoming feels even more unreal, as if daylight had only shown us half of its story. At dusk, this land becomes something else, something mystical, something ancient. As darkness approaches, the stars appear not one by one, but all at once, as if someone lifted a curtain on the universe. In Wyoming, There are no city lights, no traffic glow, no human noise. The night sky is pure, bright, endless. You look up and see not dozens, but thousands of stars. You see the Milky Way clear, brilliant, stretching across the sky like a river of light. And you realize, this is what the world used to look like. Before we covered it with our lights, before we forgot to look up. This is Wyoming untouched, unfiltered, and unbelievably real. But this is just the beginning. Ahead lies a world of hidden valleys, ancient stone towers, ghost towns frozen in time, and wilderness so untouched it feels like stepping onto a different planet. And in the next chapter, we're going deeper, into mountains that swallow the horizon, into deserts that glow like fire at sunset, into places you didn't know still existed. Until now, there are landscapes in this world that defy logic, places so strange, so powerful, and so untouched that they feel like they belong to a lost era. And in Wyoming, you don't just visit these places, you step into them. Chapter 2 begins in a realm that looks less like America and more like the pages of an ancient fantasy, jagged peaks rising like broken teeth, mirror-still lakes reflecting the heavens, and stone walls carved by glaciers older than memory. If you've ever wondered what raw, unedited nature looks like at its most dramatic, this is it. This is the heart of the Grand Tetons. The Tetons rise suddenly, violently, as if the earth itself thrust them upward in a moment of prehistoric fury. No foothills, no gentle slope, just mountains sharp, brutal, magnificent. You stand at the edge of Jenny Lake, watching the mountains cast their reflection across the water like a perfect mirror. It's so still, so quiet, that even your breath feels like a disturbance. Here, silence isn't empty, it's sacred. The wind carries the scent of pine, cold stone, and something ancient, something enduring, something alive. You begin walking along the lakeside trail, each step crunching softly against the earth. The air is thin, crisp, almost electric. As you climb higher, the landscape shifts, trees thinning, rocks growing sharper, waterfalls cutting their way through stone like ribbons of silver. Everything here feels intentional, sculpted, preserved. You can almost imagine early explorers stepping cautiously across this same path, seeing the same peaks, breathing the same air, feeling the same awe. Time moves forward, but here, nothing changes. And then, suddenly, the world opens. A valley, carved between towering walls of granite, leading into the shadowed curve known as Cascade Canyon. Sunlight barely reaches the floor, painting streaks of gold across moss-covered stones. Somewhere above, a hawk circles, its cry echoing against the canyon walls. The silence returns, but this time, it's different. It's heavier, older, as if the mountains are listening. In the distance, you hear rustling, something moving through the brush. A shape emerges, massive shoulders, dark fur, slow, heavy steps. A moose, taller than you imagined, moving through the marsh like a creature carved from the wilderness itself. It looks at you with calm, ancient eyes. Not afraid, not disturbed, just aware. In Wyoming, you learn quickly. You're not the observer here. You're the one being watched. Farther along, the Tetons reveal their colder side. Glacial lakes, icy, turquoise, impossibly clear, lying like gemstones at the feet of towering cliffs. Snowfields linger through summer, glowing white beneath the warm sun. The sound of cracking ice echoes faintly, like distant thunder. You touch the water, and it bites your fingers with a cold so pure it feels like touching the memory of winter. But the Tetons are only half of this chapter. Wyoming has another secret, hidden far to the east, one that looks like another planet entirely. As you leave the mountains behind, the lush forests fade, the air warms, and the ground shifts from stone to ancient clay. Soon, you find yourself standing at the edge of a landscape that feels almost impossible. The Badlands of Wyoming. Layered cliffs stretch across the horizon, painted in stripes of orange, red, and ash gray. Jagged pinnacles rise like the ruins of a lost civilization, carved by millions of years of wind and rain. The ground beneath your feet is cracked, dry, fragile, like stepping onto the skin of the earth itself. And as the sun sets, those colors ignite. Reds deepen into fire. Yellows glow like embers. Shadows stretch across the canyons, turning the land into a painting that lives, breathes, and shifts with every passing minute. Here, fossils lie buried beneath your feet. Ancient creatures frozen in time. Reminders that Wyoming was once home to tropical swamps, massive mammals, and worlds that no longer exist. This land is a history book written in stone, a record of life long before humans ever arrived. You walk through it slowly, carefully, feeling each gust of wind like a whisper from the past. Night arrives, and with it comes a darkness so deep you feel wrapped in velvet. The moon rises, casting the Badlands in silver. The jagged walls shine like crystal. Every shadow sharpens, every ridge glows, and suddenly, the land feels alive, breathing, shifting, dreaming. You sit on a ledge, legs dangling over a canyon carved by time itself. The stars above you form a cathedral of light, stretching farther than you can comprehend. And in that moment, you understand why Wyoming feels unreal. Because here, nature isn't just scenery. It's presence, it's power, it's memory, and this is only the beginning. Ahead lies a land where volcanic towers rise from rolling plains, where wild horses run beneath windswept cliffs, and where some of the last untouched spaces in America still sleep quietly under the western sun. If you think the American West has been fully mapped, photographed, and explored, think again. Because hidden deep within Wyoming's rugged terrain lies a world that feels untouched by time, where volcanic forces shaped the land, ancient tribes once walked, and nature displays its raw power in ways that feel almost supernatural. And in this chapter, we're about to take you into a place that looks less like Earth and more like a portal to another planet. Welcome to the legendary Absaroka Range, one of the most remote and least understood mountain regions in the United States. Stretching across Wyoming's northwest frontier, this vast volcanic landscape was forged by explosive eruptions. Millions of years ago, eruptions so powerful that entire mountains were built from ash, lava, and shattered stone. Today, the peaks stand jagged and defiant, rising sharply against the sky like the broken teeth of a giant, ancient creature. But the real magic of the Absarokas isn't just in their size, it's in their mystery. This region remains one of the least explored ranges in the Rockies. Many slopes have no official trails, no markers, and no signs of human interference. Hikers who dare to enter describe the silence here as overwhelming, so quiet you can hear the wind move across the stones. So remote, you feel like the first person to ever stand there. As you move deeper into the range, you encounter cliffs of dark basalt carved into dramatic shapes by centuries of wind and ice. Massive rock towers loom overhead, their surfaces streaked black from ancient lava flows. The valleys between them are surprisingly lush, filled with alpine meadows, wildflowers, and crystal streams that cut through layers of volcanic stone like silver ribbons. It's a landscape of extremes, but also a landscape of breathtaking beauty. Yet the Absaroka Range holds more than just natural wonders. Hidden among these mountains are the silent footprints of history, petroglyphs, stone circles, and faint trails left by Native American tribes who once passed through these lands. For thousands of years, the Absarokas were considered sacred ground, a place of visions, connection, and spiritual power. Many of the most isolated peaks, were believed to be gateways to the spirit world, standing as guardians over the valleys below. Wildlife thrives here too, precisely because it's so remote. You may spot mountain goats balancing effortlessly along sheer cliffs, or a herd of elk drifting like ghosts through the trees. But one creature reigns supreme: the grizzly bear. The Absaroka Range is one of the last untouched sanctuaries where these powerful animals roam freely across hundreds of miles. Encountering one here is a reminder that this land doesn't belong to us. We are only visitors passing through an ancient kingdom. But perhaps the most extraordinary thing about the Absarokas is that very few people ever see them. There are no crowds, no tourist buses, no paved highways, just you, the mountains, and the endless horizon. It's a rare chance to experience what the American frontier felt like centuries ago: wild, unpredictable, and astonishingly pure. And that is why the Absaroka Range is one of Wyoming's most incredible hidden worlds. A place that refuses to be tamed. A place where nature still rules with volcanic force and timeless silence. And a place that reminds us that some corners of the world remain beautifully, defiantly untouched. Before we begin, imagine this. You walk into a town where every door is unlocked, every street is quiet, and not a single human voice echoes through the empty air. A place frozen in time, where buildings still stand, but life has completely vanished. In Wyoming, places like this don't just exist, they hide in plain sight, waiting for those curious enough to seek them out. And what you're about to discover is one of the eeriest, most fascinating remnants of the Old West. Welcome to Kerwin Ghost Town, a forgotten settlement deep in the Absaroka wilderness. Getting here isn't easy. You travel through winding mountain roads, cross rushing creeks, and follow dirt paths that seem to stretch into nowhere. But when you finally arrive, you're met with a chilling silence that hits harder than any storm. It's the kind of silence that makes you look over your shoulder, the kind that makes you aware just how far you are from civilization. Kerwin began like many Old West towns, full of hope, ambition, and the promise of gold. In the early 1900s, miners flocked to this remote corner of Wyoming, chasing precious ore buried deep beneath the mountains. For a time, the town thrived. Wooden cabins, workshops, a hotel, and even a boarding house sprang up. Smoke rose from chimneys, horses clattered through the streets, and the clang of mining tools echoed across the valley. But nature had other plans. In 1907, a devastating avalanche thundered down the mountainside, crushing homes and claiming lives. Fear spread through the community. If the mountains had taken once, they could take again. Families packed their belongings, abandoned their claims, and fled almost overnight. Kerwin was left to the wolves, the wind, and the snow. Today, visiting Kerwin feels like stepping into a photograph from another century. Many of the buildings still stand, their wooden frames weathered but intact. You can walk through old mining cabins where tools are still scattered on the floor, left exactly where they were dropped the day the town emptied. Windows stare out like hollow eyes. Doors creak in the wind. And everywhere you look, the towering Absaroka peaks watch silently, as if guarding the stories that were never told. One of the most intriguing pieces of Kerwin's history involves a name you definitely know: Amelia Earhart. Before her disappearance, she planned to build a summer cabin here. She was mesmerized by the beauty and isolation of the valley. Construction began, but she vanished before ever returning to Wyoming. Her unfinished cabin still sits on the hillside, a haunting symbol of a dream cut short. What makes Kerwin so powerful isn't just its scenery. It's the overwhelming feeling that the past is still alive here. You can almost hear the echo of miners shouting over the roar of machinery, the laughter of children playing outside, the quiet sound of snow falling on a town that was once full of life. And yet, there's something strangely peaceful about Kerwin too. Nature has reclaimed it, but gently. Wildflowers grow through cracks in the floorboards. elk wander the old streets. Streams run beside what once were busy pathways. It's as if the land is slowly healing, wrapping the town in a blanket of silence and memory. In a world where everything moves fast, Kerwin forces you to slow down, to feel, to imagine, to connect with a past that refuses to be forgotten. It's a breathtaking reminder that entire worlds can rise, fall, and disappear, all in the shadow of the mountains. But the ghost stories of Wyoming don't stop here, because next, we're heading to a place where strange lights, mysterious formations, and ancient legends blend into something truly otherworldly. Before we begin, imagine this. You're standing in the middle of endless grassland. No towns, no people, no sounds, except the wind brushing over the earth. Then you notice it. Massive stone circles stretching across the ground. Perfectly shaped, perfectly placed, and impossibly old. Who built them? Why are they here? And how have they survived, untouched, for thousands of years? This isn't a movie set. This is one of Wyoming's most mysterious, ancient sites, and almost no one knows it exists. Welcome to the Bighorn Medicine Wheel, a sacred site perched high in the Bighorn Mountains. So high, in fact, that clouds sometimes roll beneath your feet. To reach it, you travel a rugged road that winds above treeline, climbing into freezing winds and wide open sky. When you finally arrive, the world feels different. Bigger, older, wiser. The wheel itself is made of stones, arranged in a giant circle with 28 spokes radiating from the center. Scientists believe it's over 1,500 years old, though many tribal nations say it is far older, built by ancient hands whose stories were never written down. And when you stand before it, you immediately understand why this place inspires legends. No one knows the true purpose of the medicine wheel. Some believe it was used as an astronomical calendar, its spokes lining up perfectly with sunrise and sunset during the summer solstice. Others think it served as a spiritual doorway, a place where tribal leaders, vision seekers, and healers came to receive guidance. And some say it marks the location where ancient travelers communicated with the sky, tracking the stars long before telescopes were invented. But here's what makes the medicine wheel truly haunting. Despite centuries of storms, lightning, and harsh mountain winters, the stones have remained perfectly in place, as if someone or something has been guarding them, as if the land itself refuses to let time erase its secrets. When you stand at the center of the wheel, the wind hits differently. It doesn't just blow, it whispers. And for a moment, you can almost feel the presence of those who stood here long before you. Vision seekers who camped on the ridge, staring at the stars for days. Warriors who climbed the mountain to pray before battle. Families who traveled across vast plains to leave offerings at the wheel's edge. Their footsteps may be gone, but their story still echoes through the cold mountain air. The panoramic view around the medicine wheel is breathtaking. Rolling plains stretch endlessly to the east, while rugged peaks tower to the west. In every direction, you see nothing but untouched wilderness. Miles and miles of pure, raw land, silent, sacred, and powerful. It's easy to understand why the native peoples considered this a place where earth meets the sky. Legend says that when you visit the wheel, you aren't just looking at history, you're entering a living circle. Many visitors leave gifts, feathers, beads, handmade items, or simple tokens of gratitude. These offerings hang from nearby fences and branches, fluttering in the wind like messages carried to the spirits. No matter your beliefs, witnessing this quiet devotion is deeply moving. And there's something else, something almost supernatural. On solstice nights, the wheel aligns with the sun and stars in ways that seem too precise to be accidental. Some astronomers argue that ancient knowledge of mathematics, sky mapping, and seasonal tracking was far more advanced than we ever imagined. Others believe the wheel was built with help from nature, from instinct, or even from spiritual forces beyond human understanding. What's certain is this: The Bighorn Medicine Wheel stands as one of Wyoming's greatest mysteries. Hidden in the mountains, untouched by modern life, it reminds us how small we are and how connected everything once was. Even if you don't believe in ancient ceremonies or star watchers, the moment you stand there surrounded by silence and sky, you feel something. A weight, a peace, a message carried across centuries, telling you that some places aren't meant to be explained. They're meant to be felt. And this is just the beginning, because as we continue through Wyoming, we'll uncover even more places where the past refuses to fade. Before we begin, picture this. You're walking through a quiet forest when suddenly the ground begins to breathe. Steam rises from vents in the earth, bubbling pools glow with impossible colors, and the air smells like ancient minerals pulled straight from the planet's core. Then, without warning, the land rumbles beneath your feet, as if something alive is stirring below the surface. This isn't a dream. This is Wyoming's most surreal and dangerous wonder, a place where the earth shows its true power. Welcome to Yellowstone's hidden thermal wilderness, the parts most tourists never see. The park is famous worldwide, but very few people realize that Yellowstone is not just a national park, it's a supervolcano. A living, breathing giant with a heartbeat measured in heat, steam, and unstoppable geological force. While millions visit Old Faithful, the real magic lies far from the crowds deep inside the backcountry geyser basins, where nature behaves as if the rules of Earth don't apply. Pools shimmer in unreal shades of turquoise, emerald, fire, orange, and electric blue. Cracks in the crust exhale steam like ancient spirits waking from centuries of sleep. Mud pots bubble like boiling paint, and vents roar like dragons trapped beneath the earth. You feel it immediately. This land is alive, and it doesn't care that you're standing there. One of the strangest and least known places is the Heart Lake Geyser Basin, where few travelers ever set foot. Here, you hike miles through silent forests and open meadows before reaching an isolated world of boiling springs and thundering geysers. Some erupt without warning. Others hiss quietly, releasing superheated steam that disappears instantly in the cold air. It feels prehistoric, like you've stepped into a world untouched by human time. But it gets even stranger. Deep in Yellowstone's backcountry lies the Mirror Plateau, a wild, rarely visited area where thermal features rise from valleys that feel almost supernatural. Pools sit in complete silence, as if they're watching you. Trees nearby are bleached white from years of exposure to acidic steam. The ground can be warm beneath your boots, reminding you that just below the surface is a reservoir of molten rock powerful enough to reshape continents. And yet, amidst this raw power is a fragile beauty. Cyan blue pools ripple in the wind. Crystal formations sparkle along the edges of geysers. Ribbons of minerals create swirling patterns that look like paintings. Even the steam dances, twisting gracefully into the sky as if performing a silent ritual. Scientists call Yellowstone a hydrothermal system. But standing here, you understand it's much more. It's a living reminder that Earth is not finished creating itself. Volcanoes sleep, but they never die. Water boils from heat older than humanity, and landscapes can change in an instant. There are places in the backcountry where you can hear a low, continuous hum, almost like the earth is breathing. No one knows exactly what causes it. Some say it's deep water shifting through volcanic rock. Others believe it's pressure building inside the supervolcano's chamber. Whatever the cause, it's a sound you never forget. A warning, a reminder, a heartbeat. Wildlife thrives here in ways that seem impossible. Bison wander dangerously close to geysers. Elk graze near steaming vents. Wolves patrol the forests at dawn. And sometimes, if you're lucky, you catch a glimpse of a grizzly bear walking along the thermal fields, its fur shimmering in the rising steam like a creature from another world. But there's one moment that stops everyone who experiences it. Sunset. As the light fades, the steam glows gold. The pools reflect colors that look unreal, like someone turned up the saturation on the world. And the silence, broken only by the hiss of steam, feels sacred. It's the kind of silence that makes you aware of your heartbeat, your breath, and your place in this massive, unpredictable planet. Yellowstone's hidden thermal wilderness is beautiful, powerful, and terrifying all at once. It's a place that reminds you of nature's ultimate truth. We are guests here, temporary visitors on a land shaped by forces far greater than us. And these forces have stories to tell. Imagine standing alone in a land so silent, so untouched, that you can hear your own breath echo between towering walls of red stone. A place that looks like it was carved, not by time, but by the hands of ancient giants. A place where every step feels like you're walking through a forgotten chapter of Earth's history, one that few people today ever get to see. This is Wyoming's Red Desert, and it might be the most underrated wilderness in all of America. The Red Desert isn't a typical desert. In fact, it breaks every rule you think you know. It's cold in winter, windy in spring, and full of life in ways that surprise even scientists. There is no sweeping Sahara sandscape here. Instead, the desert stretches out like a vast mosaic, shifting dunes, cracked clay basins, rainbow-colored badlands, sagebrush plains, and hidden canyons sculpted by centuries of erosion. It feels ancient, raw, untamed, and unknown. One of its strangest wonders is the Kilpecker sand dunes. These dunes move, they breathe, they sing. The sound is real sometimes, a low hum, sometimes a deep vibrating roar that travels through the sand like the voice of the desert itself. Scientists call them booming dunes, but when you hear it in person, it feels more supernatural. The dunes seem alive, shifting slowly under the wind's command, reshaping themselves day after day. In the early morning light, they glow gold. At sunset, they burn red like embers of a dying fire. And then, standing dramatically above these glowing dunes, are the boar's tusk, two towering volcanic spires rising out of the desert floor like the ruins of some ancient temple. They are the last surviving pieces of an old volcano that once erupted with unimaginable force. Now they stand in total silence, dark, jagged, and magnetic. You can't look away. They remind you that this land was forged in fire long before humans ever walked here. The Red Desert is also home to one of the most mysterious places in Wyoming, the Great Divide Basin. Water that falls here never reaches the ocean. It never joins a river. It never escapes. This entire region is a drainage dead zone, where water simply disappears into the earth or evaporates into thin air. It's like a natural black hole for rivers, a reminder that even water must respect the strange power of this land. Yet despite its harsh, unforgiving nature, life thrives here. Wild horses roam the plains in herds that stretch across the horizon, their silhouettes framed against the glowing desert sky. Pronghorns, some of the fastest land animals in the world, race across the open spaces at nearly highway speeds. Golden eagles circle silently above the cliffs. And hidden in the cracks and sagebrush are countless desert species that have adapted to survive where most life shouldn't. There's a feeling you get here that's hard to describe. It's loneliness, but not the painful kind. It's the kind that frees you, the kind that opens your mind and makes you feel like you're standing at the edge of something timeless. The Red Desert makes you small, in the best possible way. Once you reach the Adobe Town wilderness, the landscape becomes even stranger, almost alien. Rock towers rise, like massive sculptures carved by wind and patience. Hoodoos, buttes, and spires form a labyrinth of natural architecture that looks too delicate, too dreamlike, to exist in the real world. These formations glow pink at sunrise, fiery orange in the afternoon, and deep purple at dusk. Walking through Adobe Town feels like stepping into a prehistoric realm where dinosaurs should still roam. And perhaps the most haunting moment comes at night. When the sun disappears, the desert becomes a world of pure silence. No cars, no planes, no city lights, only the distant rustle of wind through sagebrush and a night sky so full of stars that it feels like the universe has opened above you. The Milky Way spills across the darkness like a river of light. Shooting stars flash every few minutes. It's a sky you don't just look at, you fall into. This is Wyoming's Red Desert. Vast, mysterious, beautiful, in a way that refuses to be explained. It's a place where nature shows you that emptiness can be powerful, that silence can be profound, and that there are still corners of this world untouched by modern life. And as breathtaking as this desert is, Wyoming still has more secrets waiting. There are mountains, and then there are the Wind River Range, a place so staggering, so unbelievably dramatic, that it feels like Wyoming's best-kept secret. If the Tetons are the state's iconic postcard, then the winds are its hidden masterpiece, reserved for those willing to venture deeper, climb higher, and step into a world where wilderness still rules. This is where the raw, untouched heart of Wyoming beats the loudest. Imagine beginning your journey at sunrise. The sky glows peach and gold as the first light hits jagged granite peaks rising like the spines of some ancient creature. Glacial lakes lie still and glassy below, reflecting the mountains with perfect clarity as if the earth is holding a mirror up to the heavens. The wind is cold, the air is thin, and the silence is absolute. In a world full of noise, this silence feels sacred. This is the Wind River Range, and it is unlike anything else in America. The range stretches for miles, an alpine fortress woven with deep valleys, high passes, and more than 130 glaciers, the most of any mountain range in the continental United States outside of Montana. Rivers begin here, landscapes are carved here, lives are changed here. Climbers call it one of the finest big mountain wildernesses in North America, and anyone who visits quickly understands why. One of the most breathtaking sights is Titcomb Basin, a place so unreal it feels like you've crossed into a hidden world untouched by time. Massive granite walls rise straight. Is Titcomb Basin a place so unreal it feels like you've crossed into a hidden world untouched by time? Massive granite walls rise straight out of the earth, forming a cathedral of stone that surrounds icy blue lakes at the center. When the wind blows, you can hear distant echoes bounce off the rock faces, a natural soundscape carved over millions of years. Hikers often say, standing in Titcomb Basin feels like standing inside the Earth's memory. But not everything here is peaceful. The Wind River Range is a land of extremes. Sudden storms sweep in without warning. Winds howl through the passes like roaring ocean waves. Temperatures drop in minutes. This is real wilderness, beautiful, dangerous, and demanding all at once. And yet, it's exactly this wild unpredictability that makes the winds feel alive. Just beyond the basin lies Gannett Peak, Wyoming's true highest summit. Towering at 13,810 feet, it's a massive, glacier-covered giant, challenging, remote, and absolutely spectacular. Unlike many state high points, Gannett is not easily reached. There are no roads, no shortcuts. The journey is long, brutal, and unforgettable. You cross deep forests, exposed ridges, icy slopes, and miles of wilderness that most people will never witness in their lifetime. When you finally reach the summit, the world below looks endless. Peaks stretch beyond the horizon like ocean waves frozen in stone. But the winds offer more than extreme adventure. They offer serenity in its purest form. Picture yourself beside Green River Lakes, where the iconic square-top mountain rises like a massive stone wall at the end of the water. The lake is calm, framed by forests and peaks, and the air smells of pine and cold mountain wind. As the sun sets, Square Top glows orange, then pink, then deep violet, one of the most magical light displays you will ever see. In the heart of the range lies Cirque of the Towers, a world-renowned climbing paradise where rock spires erupt from the ground in dramatic, impossible shapes. To hikers and climbers, the Cirque is a pilgrimage. Each tower has a name: Warbonnet, Pingora, Wolves, head like ancient guardians watching over the valley below. Even if you never climb a single rock, standing in the Cirque makes you feel like you're part of something legendary. Wildlife thrives here, too. Moose wander through willow-lined creeks. Black bears move silently through the forests. Mountain goats appear like ghosts on distant cliffs. And in the quiet of dawn, you might hear the high-pitched whistle of pikas hiding among the rocks, collecting plants to store for winter. Every creature here has adapted to survive in one of the toughest environments in the American West. But maybe the most unforgettable moment in the winds comes at night. Imagine lying beside an alpine lake, wrapped in a cold mountain breeze, staring up at a sky so clear it doesn't look real. The Milky Way bends overhead in a bright arc. Billions of stars shimmer. Silence surrounds you. And for a moment, you feel something rare. A sense that you're part of a world much bigger, much older, and far more beautiful than you ever realized. The Wind River Range isn't just a place you visit. It's a place that rewires you. It strips away the noise, the routine, the distractions, and replaces them with awe. It reminds you what true wilderness feels like: untamed, unpredictable, and profoundly alive. And if you think Wyoming's mountain wonders stop here, you're mistaken. There are places on Earth that feel ancient. And then there are places that make you feel like you've stepped back into the age before humans existed at all. Wyoming holds one of these rare landscapes, vast, silent, and carved by forces older than imagination. A place where prehistoric creatures once roamed, where rivers sculpted canyons into enormous stone labyrinths, and where time itself seems to slow. Welcome to the Bighorn Canyon National Recreation Area, one of the most underrated natural wonders in the American West. Before you even see the canyon, you feel it. The land begins to open, stretching wider. The cliffs begin rising higher, and then suddenly, you reach the edge, and the earth drops away beneath your feet. A massive chasm carved by the Bighorn River cuts through the land like a wound in the planet's crust. Sheer walls of red, orange, and limestone white tower up to 1,000 feet above the swirling green water below. It's raw, immense, almost unsettling in its scale. This is the kind of place that forces you to stand still and just breathe. Millions of years ago, the river began its slow battle, with the rock grinding, carving, shaping. Layer after layer of geological history was exposed, turning the canyon into a vertical timeline of Earth's ancient past. Somewhere in these stones are the remnants of seas that once covered Wyoming, along with traces of creatures that lived and died long before humans arrived. And somehow, the canyon still feels alive. One of the most breathtaking viewpoints is Devil's Canyon Overlook. From here, the river bends and twists below like a giant emerald serpent. Hawks circle overhead, wind rushes across the cliffs, and the silence, broken only by the distant call of birds, makes you feel like the last person on Earth. People often compare Bighorn Canyon to a smaller, lesser-known Grand Canyon. But the truth is, it has a personality entirely, its own wilder, quieter, more mysterious. Travel deeper, and the canyon transforms. On the Wyoming side, cliffs tower dramatically above the water. On the Montana side, the river widens into a long, shimmering reservoir. Small coves hide between stone walls. Wild horses roam freely across the high desert plateaus. These aren't tame or trained animals. They're descendants of the wild mustangs that survived here for generations. They move in small bands, manes blowing in the wind, muscles rippling under the sun. Seeing them against the red cliffs feels like witnessing the untamed West come alive again. The wildlife doesn't end there. Bighorn sheep cling to vertical cliff faces with impossible balance. Eagles soar across the canyon, gliding on rising thermals. Mule deer graze near the riverbanks. And occasionally, the quiet is interrupted by the splash of a fish or the rustling of sagebrush in the breeze. Here, nature isn't just scenery, it's a constant, living presence. Those who venture to the bottom of the canyon, especially by boat, see an entirely different world. The walls rise above you like giant stone guardians. Sunlight floods through the narrow passageways, painting the canyon in warm gold. Every curve of the river reveals a new perspective, a new cliff face, a new hidden alcove. Down here, the canyon feels like a cathedral, vast, echoing, sacred. On land, trails wind along the rim and into the surrounding desert. The Lockhart Ranch tells the story of Caroline Lockhart, a fiercely independent woman who lived and ranched in this remote wilderness for decades. Her ranch remains frozen in time-weathered buildings, old tools, and artifacts of a life lived with grit and resilience. Her story adds a human heartbeat to a landscape that often feels prehistoric. But perhaps the most surreal experience comes at sunset. As the sky turns soft shades of orange and purple, the canyon walls ignite, glowing as if lit from within. Shadows stretch across the cliffs. The river reflects the sky like a ribbon of liquid gold, and the entire canyon becomes a painting in motion. Moments like this remind you why untouched places matter, why silence matters. They remind you that the natural world carries stories older than language, more powerful than anything humanity can build. Bighorn Canyon is not flashy. It doesn't have crowds or traffic or neon signs. It asks for your time, your attention, and your willingness to slow down. But when you do, it gives back something rare: perspective. A reminder that the world is still full of places where nature writes the rules, where beauty is carved slowly, patiently, over millions of years. And just when you think Wyoming can't surprise you anymore, it reveals its final wonder, a place where the land lifts into rugged peaks, where geysers whisper, and where prehistoric fossils tell the story of life itself. Imagine a place where time seems to fold in on itself, where ancient forces, fire, water, and ice have carved landscapes so alien, so dramatic, that it feels like stepping onto another planet. A place where the earth itself is alive, breathing through geysers, steaming vents, and hot springs. This is the final hidden gem of Wyoming, the culmination of our journey into a land of extremes. Yellowstone National Park's untamed backcountry. Most visitors know Yellowstone for Old Faithful and the Grand Prismatic Spring. But beyond the crowded boardwalks, deep in the park's backcountry, lies a world few ever witness. Here, geothermal wonders dominate the landscape. Steam rises continuously from hidden vents. Pools bubble with hues that seem impossible. Turquoise, neon green, electric blue, and brilliant orange. Mud pots churn like boiling cauldrons. Each feature tells a story of molten rock beneath the surface, a reminder that this is a living supervolcano. The Heart Lake Geyser Basin is one of the most remote and breathtaking areas. Reaching it requires a multi-day trek through dense forest and open meadows. When you finally arrive, the experience is otherworldly. Pools of molten-colored water shimmer in contrast with the surrounding wilderness. The silence is broken only by the hiss of steam escaping cracks in the earth and the distant call of a bird soaring above. It is a place that feels untouched by humans, where nature remains completely in control. Nearby, the Mirror Plateau adds another layer of surreal beauty. Vast expanses of mineralized earth stretch as far as the eye can see. Vibrant algae-coat hot springs in patterns that seem almost artificial. The air smells of sulfur and minerals, a pungent reminder of the geothermal power below. Lightning storms often sweep across the plateau, turning the sky into a dramatic canvas of light and shadow, while distant eruptions of geysers send plumes hundreds of feet into the air. Standing here, you feel both incredibly small and infinitely connected to the planet. Even in this harsh, almost uninhabitable environment, life finds a way. Bison graze near steaming fields. Elk move gracefully between hot springs. Wolves prowl through the forests at dawn. And tiny creatures adapted to extreme temperatures thrive in pools where water can reach near boiling. Every step here is a lesson in resilience, a reminder that life finds a way, even in the most extreme conditions. Yellowstone's backcountry is not just about geothermal wonders. Hidden valleys and alpine lakes create a stark contrast with the heat and steam. Walking beside Heart Lake, the reflection of surrounding peaks shimmers perfectly in the glassy water. Wolves' howls echo through the forests, mingling with the hiss of geysers. At night, when the Milky Way stretches overhead, the landscape becomes almost spiritual. A cathedral of stone, water, and sky, shaped by fire and time. And if you pay attention, you'll notice the land tells stories older than humanity. Fossils embedded in cliffs, petrified trees near thermal areas, and ancient volcanic formations all remind you that Yellowstone is a living record of Earth's history. Mountains rose and fell. Rivers carved deep valleys. Volcanic eruptions shaped entire ecosystems. And now, all of this exists in a delicate balance, a spectacle of raw, untamed wilderness. What makes this backcountry so remarkable is its duality. It is beautiful, yet dangerous, serene, yet powerful, silent, yet alive, with the sound of geothermal forces. Few humans ever experience it, which is part of its magic. It's a land that demands respect, a reminder that even in a world dominated by human progress, there remain places where nature reigns supreme. As our journey comes to a close, Wyoming reveals itself as a land of contrasts. Ghost towns that echo with history, deserts alive with color and sound, mountains that scrape the sky, and geothermal wonders that defy imagination. It is a place where solitude is profound, where landscapes are epic, and where every corner seems untouched by time. If there is a lesson from Wyoming, it is this: there are still places in the world that inspire awe, that challenge your understanding of scale, beauty, and time. Places where the earth reminds us that it is vast, powerful, and eternal. Wyoming is not just a state, it is an experience, a living museum, and a playground for anyone who dares to explore beyond the ordinary. From ghostly towns to alien deserts, from sacred ancient sites to superheated landscapes, Wyoming has shown us that the planet's most incredible stories are often hidden in plain sight. And if you carry just one memory from this journey, let it be this: the world is far bigger, far wilder, and far more magical than we often realize. And Wyoming is one of its most extraordinary chapters. This is the land that refuses to be tamed, the land that speaks in silence, color, and raw power, the land that reminds us why exploration is essential, why curiosity matters, and why the planet's greatest wonders are often waiting, quietly, for those willing to seek them out. Wyoming is more than a destination. It's a reminder that the world is still wild, still untamed, and still full of wonders waiting to be discovered. From ancient mountains to alien landscapes, from ghost towns to sacred spaces, every corner tells a story, and every moment leaves an impression that lasts a lifetime. If you've been inspired by Wyoming's hidden beauty, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss an adventure. The world is waiting, and your next journey begins now. Thanks for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed exploring Prague as much as I enjoyed guiding you through it. If you found this travel guide helpful, Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more beautiful destinations from around the world. Got a favorite spot in Prague? Drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, safe travel.